and see you. And if financial information products or services can be delivered in other ways that may be more appropriate to a particular consumer, they'll go for it. And I think all IFAs really should be just thinking about, there are clients out there who want my advice, but they don't actually want to come and see me. So maybe I could be thinking of products and services that I could be delivering through my website.
We did some research earlier on this year at JP Morgan, which was into the behaviours of high net worth clients, and we took two distinct groups. Young high earners, so people under 35 that earn more than £100,000 a year, and asset-rich older people, so over 55s who had more than £250,000 worth of liquid assets. And we asked those two groups how they would want to be served by their wealth manager or their financial advisor. And the responses we got back were very, very different. Everyone wants a personal service because of the level of wealth and assets that they have, and they want regular contact with their IFAs. The older group want personal contact, they want to see their advisors, they want to see the whites of their eyes. The younger group, they're much more mobile, you know, they may be working in the UK or in Europe or in the US or wherever. They want constant contact, but they don't need it face to face. They want it over the web, and they want instant access, you know, when they've got a query, when they've got a windfall, when they've got a bonus, dare I mention the word, they want to know how to invest it, and they want to know how to invest it quickly.
I think that's one of the things they talk about. You talk about your consumer, but that's a big group of people, and I think within the financial environment as well, you're looking at consumers at different life stages. So for an IFA to engage with somebody in their 20s, they're going to look at that sort of lifetime value for that as a client. And you need to speak to consumers in different ways, whether that is within that younger group of people, and what they're doing, what their life stages are. They're having children, they're buying houses, having mortgages, thinking of pensions, and then you've got the older group. I think people that are starting to think about having a website, which seems quite backward in this day and age, is who are my consumers, and who do I want to target, and how am I going to target those people, because they're at different life stages.
Interestingly, we did some research earlier this year, and the family, you know, your close family was the top route for financial advice. That was where you'd go to first. Then, you know, banks, financial advisors, kind of about a quarter of people would go there. That was obviously just one sample, but it just shows you how important, you know, the family side of thing is. But then equally, if you can get in there with your website to develop that side further, then there's a huge opportunity there.
It's looking at the triggers, the life stage triggers.
I think our friends at Apple will have something to say about this as well. The iPhone app is going to be a very quick and simple route to financial information, financial advice. We underestimate that one at our peril.
Yeah, because today the double wrap around the free press this morning is all iPhone apps to manage your financial wealth. Double wrap on top of all free press at Tubes.
Yeah.
Susan, is there anything specific to protection? There's obviously a hell of a lot of protection is bought and sold online direct, and we've spoken a lot about sort of investment and pensions. Yeah. Speaking specifically about protection, how can IFAs move market protection online? In a better way?
I think just some of the things we've already talked about, maybe the kind of the more simple, perhaps just life cover, there's perhaps room for that just being online, but we would always say once you get into the more complicated critical illness, income protection, unemployment benefit, all of these areas, you need advice. It can't just be sold without any advice in there at all. So you need, I think, a lot of the time that is a case of perhaps sitting in front of, you know, somebody actually going through, you know, fully understanding you as a customer and what your needs are. Because I mean, obviously, in this climate, unemployment benefit, we all know things are looking better, but you know, unemployment traditionally has lagged behind the recovery of the economy, and that's certainly from a provider's perspective, we're seeing a lot more interest in that type of cover. But that, you know, that's not just simple either. That's, you know, there's definitely a lot of value for an IFA in there in terms of the whole advice process and looking at the complete requirements.
I think if an IFA wants to come in there and try and compete on price, and it's well, I just think they're going to be running into a brick wall, really, because there's going to be somebody who will come in cheaper or bigger or quicker or whatever. It is those areas. Parts of the protection will be commoditised in the same way that car insurance and home insurance has been. But areas that are complicated, where you need advice and people, you know, the sort of critical illness and what it means, you can start to give a lot of information to disturb the clients enough to want to perhaps pick up the phone or dig a little bit deeper. And that's where you should be sort of making your pitch, not on price.
I think that's right. There's a difference in products out there. There's some simple products, you know, savings and things that people can do themselves. And then there's the other end, and people don't want to do it themselves. There's pensions and long-term investments, and they don't want to take on that responsibility. They want someone to hold their hand through it. And the consumers that find us, they inevitably want someone, i.e. an IFA, someone who knows that business, to help them through that maze and to help them make decisions. It's not that they can't do it or they're not educated enough or that they don't even have a will to. It's just they need that help, and they find that by going to an IFA, they get the best financial solution for them. There is a demand for it.
We've always thought in the industry it's actually banks that are the biggest threat to IFAs. It never has been, it never will be. It's price comparison websites. You look at their statistics, some of them are up 200% of users year on year. That's 200% of the number of people that are actually going through them. I mean, compare the market. The Meerkat on Facebook has got a friends website with tens of thousands of fans. As Phil, this is savvy marketing. This is clever. People, you can buy the toy. This is clever. IFAs could be doing this. They could be utilising Facebook. They could be putting comparison price websites up within their own sites. They could be using these clever marketing techniques. Websites are simply an integral part of your marketing collateral to provide information. It is disgraceful that IFAs haven't got a website.
IFA, on our own research, we've think about 25% of IFAs have got a Facebook account now, but very, very few have got a business or a fan Facebook page. And this is going to be essential for any business, really. Well, it's now. A lot of people see a lot of this as theoretical fluff that's all going to happen, and we see a lot of IFAs say, "Well, I'll be retired by the time I need to take notices." No, you won't. It's happening right now. It's not going to be RDR. It's not going to be the banks that will force many IFAs out. It's their lack of engaging with the technology.
I mean, I agree with you, and I encourage IFAs to get online and to use online at whatever level. But I really, and that includes, getting onto Facebook and Twitter. I mean, we use for our media services directory and getting media and having journalists as a community. It's worked fantastically for us at Unbiased, and to raise the profile of independent financial advice. We're really doing very well with it. But from an IFA's point of view, it's back to basics. Get a good website, talk to your clients, then get into this Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Unless you have that foundation of a good website and a proper business plan, you're nowhere without it. You have to understand, as Joe said, what are consumers doing online? Like Keith says, how are you using online, and use that information to inform your own website, and only then can you take it to the next level and get involved with all the social media. But as Phil says, it's happening now. So if you haven't got a website, you're way behind. You need to start catching up, get a website, get linked onto directories such as Unbiased, who are working on your behalf to plumb you in to all the different areas online, and then you can take it to the social media networking and help your clients and find clients and new leads in that way.
You said something very interesting there, sorry to interrupt, about having a plan.
Yes.
Too often, a lot of the web tools are out there are kind of retrofitted. So, I like the look of that, I'll give that a go, and I like the look of that, which I'm fine with that. I encourage people to do that. But very often you find there is no internet plan underneath it all, which should start with, the website and the listings and so on and so forth, and then moving on from there. And then something else that really needs to be done, which I know again from IFA Life's own research, is that hardly any IFAs are actually measuring what they're doing online. You've got great numbers, but the IFAs themselves are not looking at their web stats. They won't be able to tell you right now, today, how many people visited their site yesterday or what pages. The overwhelming majority of them. And that is essential management information they really need to get stuck into.
How easy is it for them to get those statistics?
It's not a piece of cake, just click a button, it's all there.
Google Analytics will do it.
Google.
You just plug a little bit of code in and it'll tell you what time they visited, where they were visiting from, what browser they were using as well. So if you've got if you want to optimize it for particular browsers because that's what your clients are using, it's a wealth of information. But I want to go back to that other point about building a website, because I think the vast majority of IFAs are not being served very well by a lot of website builders out there, is that they get what is, and you said it earlier, Phil, several pages that look exactly the same as anybody else's several pages with the same text and the same script. And to be honest, it puts me off. If I go looking in other areas, if I start looking for advice and I just see the same, and you can see it if I want to get some legal or some comment from there, and I just see the same text cut and paste from one website to another website, to this chat room, to this blog, to this anything. It just turns me off, because actually...
I think Dennis's point is an excellent point. I mean, you know, we touched upon the commodity and protection and what have you there, but, you know, good quality financial advice is not a commodity service. It's a very high value service. And I think when you've had contact with the clients, you can sell that into them, you can explain the value of it. But really, a website has become a hygiene factor. You don't get to stage 2 until someone's gone through your website, and your website has got to be persuasive. And to Dennis's point, if it just looks like everybody else's, you're really not going to get anywhere.
Kim, how can IFAs differentiate their websites?
Very few IFAs I know, and I'm passionate about the IFA sector, are actually marketing savvy enough to be able to get that USP and the differentiation we keep talking about around this table. Quite often, the IFAs I know that have had fabulous websites. Now, when I say fabulous websites, they mightn't be loaded with functionality. They mightn't have lots of very content heavy. It's just different with what I call standout, which makes them look different, with a promise to client service. How are you going to look after your clients? Quite often, some of those companies work with PR agencies, they work with marketing agencies that truly understand marketing. IFAs are client services managers, they are salespeople, they at the moment are being pushed to sit exam after exam after exam. Why not outsource your marketing? Get someone, and there's a few of us sitting around this table, to write you a marketing brief, or to help, or to use the excellent online people, or to use the excellent marketeers. That's how I suggest IFAs do it. Unless you've got a block of time, about approximately 25 hours, and you're going from basics, and you can sit and read marketing theory for 25 hours, do it yourself. I suggest it's cheaper to pay someone 500 quid to do it for you.
That's what would you say to that?
I've done a bit of both, actually. The bulk of the original 10,000 plus cost was going out to experts. The actual build was a lot less than that. There comes a point, if you're doing it, that actually you can become as knowledgeable as a lot of the people you're taking advice from, and you may want to drive things just a little bit quicker than perhaps the support is out there, and that either means a lot of money spending because you're moving to a different level of expertise, or you get really interested, as I do, and you read the books and you carve out that 25 hours and you start doing it yourself.
Having had a general view of the thousands of entries that we have on the directory, in building a website, all I can say in order for them to make themselves different is to make it come from the heart. Think about the service that you want to provide. What advice are you passionate about? And explain that to your clients on your website. Obviously, if you can think of a USP and anything that's great that no one else has got that's different, but if you can't, then just be really true to the type of business that you want to be doing and clearly explain that to your consumers. I think that's a great first step for them.
I think every IFA does have a differentiator. Every IFA has, and Dennis is a great example of this. They've got the website, but the key differentiator above anything else is themselves. People buy people online just as much as they do face-to-face, and if you can show the sort of person you are, your interests, your aspirations, your values, if people are interested in that, they buy into you, they'll buy your service.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Some of the ones I have seen very much, you get the people feeling from it, and let's face it, we all know that the trust word is discussed a lot in our industry, and I think if you get that kind of people good feeling about they want to help you, I think that can make a difference.
And I think in that instance, it doesn't have to be hard work. You know, I mean, I work for a very large international bank, and finding the resource to run our website can be quite difficult. It takes a lot of time and a lot of attention, but it doesn't need to, I don't think, for an IFA. If it's about putting over your qualities, your business proposition, explaining to your clients how you're going to look after them. You don't have to be on that website day in, day out, updating and making sure all the links work. It doesn't have to be all singing or dancing. It can be reasonably static. You just have to think about what it is you're trying to achieve from your website.
Do you have any tips?
Sometimes I think it's what's good about a website, good positive parts of a website is sort of having case studies. So actually taking somebody through, this is Dave and he had this issue and this is how I've helped him and this is what the outcome has been, so that people can identify with real life people rather than sort of content which is we do this, we do this, we do this, because not everybody that's looking for an IFA actually knows what they're looking for, and I think that's one of the key things that if